When I think about doing exposure work from an ACT perspective with clients with anxiety disorders or OCD, I really focus on teaching the right procedure, the right process, and the right outcome. By outcome, what I think about is helping the client live a life that's directed towards their values, living the ways that they want to live. It's not so much about getting rid of the disorder. The disorder will have to change for them to, pursue their values and live the life they want to live. But I think the idea that if you just get rid of a disorder, that a person is then going to live the life they want, I don't know if that's totally true. Now, this ties into the process of change that I'm interested in when I do therapy, and that's teaching my clients to be psychologically flexible. What that means is that for their anxiety or their obsessions, that they can see them for what they are, they can make space for them, they can, connect with what's there for them, they can picture their values, they can take steps towards their values, that they can basically carry along whatever thought, feeling, or emotion that they're having and bring that with them as they're going towards the things that they really care about. The way that I teach this is we usually spend about 4, 5, 6 sessions just helping the clients get more psychologically flexible. And then once we get that they know how to be psychologically flexible, we then practice this within like important situations. And the reason we want them to know how to be psychologically flexible is if they don't know how to do that and then we go practice like what we might call an exposure, they're just going to tough their way through it. They're not going to watch their feelings, they're not going to connect with their values. They're just going to kind of plow through this moment. And my take is that's not really a helpful therapeutic move. And honestly, when I hear about people who've done lots of hours of exposure, like you'll meet people who've done like 50 or 100 hours and they're not better, that my guess is they're just powering through these exposure exercises, that they're not like learning the skill they should learn, which from my opinion, from my standpoint, is learning how to be psychologically flexible. So once they know how to do it, we will then move into the exposures. And here's the thing, a couple like my little tips. The exposure should be tied to the client's values. So there should be something about the activity that's actually important to them. So maybe it's interacting with a friend or going into a public space or being around people or, I don't know, just using some facility in a way they couldn't use it. It should actually be tied to a value or um, it's just practice, but they can see how it's tied to a value. So an example might be if a guy is afraid of germs, therefore he can't go out to dinner with his wife because there's too many germs there, he can't control it. He may not actually value uh, going to a cafe with me and getting a coffee, but that could be practice for something he does care about. Whenever we're doing an exposure, I always start out and I'll say something like, okay, let's really kind of recognize why we're doing this. We're doing this so that you can build a new relationship with your thoughts and feelings, your obsessions and your anxiety, and that you'll be able to do things that are important to you. That's why we're going to do this exercise. So the whole time we're doing it, pay attention to that. Like connect with why it's worth doing this and what you care about. And this isn't about whether your anxiety goes up or down. It's whether you can carry and hold whatever shows up for you in that moment. And then we'll practice in session, right? And again, if this is a OCD or a phobia, we can usually find those stimuli, find something that's worth working on. And if it's panic disorder, it's the same thing. Like we're going to bring on the interoceptive experiences, but we're going to do it in a context of like, hey, let's practice here because this will be useful for you in some moment when you need it. You're going to go to class and you're going to sit down, and you probably know when you're sitting in class that your internal stuff's going to kick off. And let's get good at it here in these small doses and small ways so that when you're in that situation, you'll be able to do it. Like if anyone has a history with athletics or something, it's kind of like that. Like we're going to practice now so that when you're in the real situation, you can do it. Yeah, it's really kind of a skills building thing of helping someone get to where they want to get to. And I think it's interesting because it's kind of different than one that's like, if we do this enough, you'll no longer have that feeling. So probably if there was like a big thing that I'd suggest that you take away into your work, the exposures need to be teaching psychological flexibility from this model. Otherwise, you're just powering through difficult situations, and they are powering through lots of difficult situations all the time. And that's not therapeutic. You know, Learning how to have what you have and live the life you want to have with that, these clients will be able to get through lots of difficult situations, right? And that's what I teach when I'm teaching act-based exposures across all these different anxiety or OCD problems.